Hello and welcome back. It's little more than an hour since we came off the air, but already detectives have been checking leads and there is quite a mountain of work for them to do now. There's still more coming in too, the lines are still busy, but let's run through what we've found out so far.
Let's start with the mystery of Linda Hunter, the woman who vanished from near Dundee in August.
I'm going out. You can pick up the car from work tomorrow at 3.
Next day, Mrs. Hunter's car was found abandoned 300 miles south in Manchester. As with the quite separate cases of Shirley Banks and Susie Lamplugh, Linda has quite simply disappeared. I should stress there's no known connection between the cases, no reason why there should be any, but you are fairly pessimistic, and you and the family, I gather, are fairly resigned that she is likely to be dead.
That's correct, Nick, yes.
Now, you've had one phone call that is really quite intriguing, I gather, someone who spotted a car on the night in question.
Yes, we believe it was possibly on that night, probably on that night. It was, in fact, being driven south of Edinburgh, between Edinburgh and Manchester. We don't know exactly where at this stage. And the driver of the car who was following this white Antibes noted the number. Unfortunately, the number's at his work and he's going to check and bring it back for us.
Explain why he was so suspicious that he jotted down the number.
He was suspicious because he saw a woman slumped in the front passenger seat.
Now, you've checked this man out.
I've spoken to him personally.
He's definitely got the number. He's going to check that out tomorrow.
Yes, he's genuine.
Now, I gather you also had some calls from Manchester.
Yes, we've had several calls from the Manchester area. The most interesting call probably is from an anonymous caller, in fact, but who has given us names of persons who may well have had this car in their possession.
Right. I know you've got a lot of information still to check out. Thank you. Well, yeah, sorry, you wanted to say more?
Yes, if I couldn't, Nick, I would like to ask Linda, who phoned our incident room in Dundee with regard to the car being at the Duck and Drake Public House in Leeds, to contact us again either here at Crimewatch or at the incident room at Dundee. OK,
I've got another appeal for someone to call in. I can't give her name out because the call was given in confidence, but I think she'll know who I mean when I say she called about the murder of Rachel Partridge. That was a case that we covered in last month's programme. A woman rang tonight with information. She broke down on the phone. You will know who you are. Please do call us back right now. The lines are open. All the numbers will be given in just a moment.
Well, now that series of robberies against elderly people in South Wales by a team posing as water board officials.
Sorry to disturb you. There's been a gas explosion, and I've come to check your water.
Oh, well,
The kitchen this way.
well, all right.
In one of the robberies, thieves got away with £3,000. And then there was another one we heard today where they got away with £1,500. Detective Chief Inspector Alan Buck, you actually seem to have some very useful calls today.
Yes, I'm delighted with the response. We've been inundated both at Cardiff and here. I had a phone call earlier on myself from a lady ringing from Southern Ireland who asked whether she could see the video fit again.
Right, there it is.
This is of a man in his early 20s, 5'9", neat, mousy-coloured hair, politely spoken with an Irish accent. If you recognise him, please phone us back.
Right. What actual results have you had?
We've had a number, 3 of which I'll give you. An off-duty bobby in the Metropolitan Police area has told me about 2 men of almost identical description who were arrested recently. I will follow that line of inquiry up before I return to Cardiff tomorrow. A man from Cardiff saw some people acting suspiciously in Diana Street in the Cathays area. He is en route to Cardiff Central now to make a photo fit. And perhaps the most special is we've had a call regarding similar offences in Birmingham 6 weeks ago, which were recorded on videotape, so that's quite encouraging.
And they all seem to tie in time-wise, so with any luck,
yes,
we've really got
yes.
somewhere there. Mr. Buck, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, out of that frightening raid that took place in October on a lonely farmhouse near Knutsford in Cheshire, 3 men armed with a shotgun took £3,000 worth of jewellery and cash and escaped in a van and in the family's own car. Inspector Ian Johns, you've had a lot of calls, I know. How many so far? Have you counted yet?
Yes, we've had 70 calls into the incident room in Cheshire, and we've had over 50 calls into the control here.
You were looking delighted a few minutes ago when I was round the back with you. You've obviously got some really rather good information.
We've had some good information about a man that's alleged to have been on the job, and we're very pleased and we're following that one up at the moment.
Right. What else have you managed to find out?
Well, there's been various names put in, which is obviously very hopeful. And also we've had some information about the string.
Right.
That it may come from either the rag trade, from market traders, or from shoe rackers.
Right, this is the string that was used to tie up one of the women. We've got that video fit, which is supposed to be really quite a good likeness of one of the culprits. And you think you've got information about that man now?
Several people have come forward. They've looked at the video fit, and they've given us a name that they feel this man that may refer to this man.
I have a feeling you're going to have a very late night tonight, Mr. Johns. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, now to see what calls we've had so far to incident desk. Helen Phelps, first of all, the murder of Elsa Hannaway in Moss Side in Manchester. That was the 30th of October.
That's right. It was a particularly vicious attack on this woman. She was a mother and a grandmother. We've had about 15 calls in all. At the moment, the information doesn't sound too positive. What we need to know is where she was between 1:15 in the morning and 2:20, an hour and 5 minutes later. That period is blank. We also need to know who is the man that was seen struggling and fighting with a woman in Whitworth Park a little bit later on that morning. We showed a video fit of him. We need to know who he is.
And nobody's come forward who really recognises him yet?
No, I'm afraid not.
What about the building society robber? There were 6 robberies in the South East London area.
Quite a few calls have come in, a number of them from police officers. In fact, police at Paddington in London have phoned in saying they have arrested someone today who closely resembles the robber that we saw in one of the video pictures.
So that one will be checked out. And finally, the con man, who's called Peter Davis, alias John Carr, and he's been getting credit from shops all over the southwest of England using a false AA membership card.
Well, names have been given in to us, but one viewer has said he believes it's a salesman who's been travelling in the southwest. He has provided the name of the firm, so the officers here will be able to, well, as soon as possible, check up with the firm.
Right, Helen, thank you.
David, what about the killing of Daniel Callaghan? He was hit in that hit-and-run accident. Daniel was on a bicycle on the Ormskirk-Kirkby Road, the A506. What have you got on
a
that?
very sad case. We've had a lot of calls about it, Nick, and a lot of people have tried to help us with details of the vehicles. Remember, we mentioned that we think if the paint is the original colour, it's a red car, and it's either a Jaguar or a Volvo. A lot of people have rung in to say there are other vehicles with the same colour paint, and that is true, but they don't have the same undercoat on them.
So it's definitely one of these 3 cars, types of car.
That's right. Now, the other thing that's been mentioned as well is that we showed fragments of glass, and they say Volvos and Jaguars don't have toughened windscreens, which again is true. That glass, we know, is from a laminated windscreen, so again it goes down to a Volvo or a Jaguar. If you think you recognise either of those vehicles that has had front damage, call us. We've had one possible identity of a Jaguar in the Merseyside area that we're following up, and we know is up for sale at the moment.
And has appropriate damage, I gather.
It would appear so, yes.
Then there was the raider who attacked 5 building societies and a bank in Lancashire and Cumbria.
Yes, he's got away with £24,000. We've had one call. Totally frustrating result here. There's a £10,000 reward being offered if you can identify either of the top 2 photo artist impressions, which we think are probably the same man, or the bottom one. They may be operating as a team of 2, or they could be entirely separate offences.
Got a pretty lousy result so far.
Dreadful.
Right, so...
Well, that's all for this month. In fact, it's all for this year. We're back next month on Tuesday, January the 12th next year. But we do hope to have more results in time for open air, which is at around 11:45 tomorrow morning.
Meantime, the lines are open for another 25 minutes or so until midnight. So we'll give you local numbers in a moment. And, of course, you can always write to us at Crimewatch UK, BBC TV, London, W12 8QT. Failing that, if you've any information on any crime, just call your local police. Don't have nightmares, do sleep well. And do join us in the year ahead. Good night.
See you next year.